Hey young, why are you reading that in English? Isn't it hard?
Well, yeah, sometimes, but actually, there are many reasons why reading in English is super important.
Exactly. Reading in English is not only useful, it can change the way we learn. Let's explain why.
First of all, many students want to read texts in English for their studies, their future career, or just for fun. Think about it. If you can read in English, you can access more books, research, or even your favorite novels, like all of that. So the first reason is clear. Reading English opens the door to knowledge and opportunities. And not only that, it will also connect you to the world. Scientific articles, websites, and even memos are written in English. So imagine being able to understand them directly without waiting for a translation. So you save time and you get the information exactly as it is. So that's mean more independence as a student and more confidence as a professional.
Reading is also super useful for language learning. The more you read, the better you get. It improves your vocabulary, your spelling, and even your writing. And yes, he helps people like John start writing this instead of this.
Hey, I'm improving, okay?
But it's not only about grammar. Reading helps your brain get used to how English actually sounds and feels. You start recognizing patterns, expression, and even jokes in another language. Plus, when you read stories, you also practice thinking in English. It's like exercise for the brain. You get stronger without even noticing.
Another reason is that reading gives you model for writing. When we read, we see how sentences and paragraphs are made. That way, we can write very easy stories or even simple messages. So, basically, reading it like having a feature inside every book.
You know, Kevin, one thing that people don't always realize is that reading can help us to relax. Sometimes life gets stressful by exams, um, homeworks, or just daily problems.
That's true. Reading can actually reduce stress. It's like a mental escape. You open a book, and for a while, you travel to another place.
Sadly, it's not only about escape. It can improve our focus and patience too. When we read, we spend time reading, we train our brain to concentrate for longer.
And honestly, he feels good. After finishing a book, you don't just learn, you also feel proud of yourself. It gives you motivation to keep going.
So yeah, reading is not only about study or language. It's also about enjoying life,
Finding peace.
and feeling accomplished.
Reading English is more than just learning work, so every page trying our patience and focus, while also opening our mind to new ideas and cultures. It like a daily exercise that keeps us curious and help us grow. So, and in the end, the habits of reading becomes for part of the who we are not only as a student but as people. Okay, so some people think reading in English is boring or too difficult, but actually, once you start, you realize it's the opposite every page. And not only teaches new word, it also brings new idea and cultures. So reading trains our patience, keep you curious and help you grow.
One more thing, just a lot of students say, but I don't have time to read, especially in English. The truth is, you don't need hours. You just need a few minutes a day.
Even reading a short article or the lyric of a song can make a big difference. Little by little, it becomes habit. And that's when you really start to see progress. And that's exactly why each of us has our own reason to keep reading. I read in English because I want to learn and grow in my career. It's like an investment in my future.
I read because I love stories and it helps my vocabulary, but also because every book I finish makes me feel more confident using English in real life.
So, and I read because I inspire me and give me idea altogether. So reading is not just an activity, and it's key to learning imagination and opportunity.
Welcome to our video. Today we're going to talk about two kind of important reading, the intensive reading and the extensive reading.
That's right. Many times we think that reading is just reading, but in fact, there are different purposes, ways to approach.
And the best thing is that both intensive and extensive reading help us to improve our English skills or in any other languages.
Extensive reading happens outside the classroom. It's about reading or phone novels, websites, and anything you enjoy. When the students choose what they want to read, they stay motivated and improve faster. It's all about pleasure and freedom.
Yes, here students read novels, websites, newspaper, magazines, or any other reference material.
The key point is that it should be reading for pleasure. Richard Day even calls it joyful reading.
Intensive reading is done in classes, and it's detailed and focused, low-key grammar, vocabulary, and structure. Teachers make texts based on students and the needs, and also like science or business. It's great for academic growth.
Exactly. If the teacher encourages them and also give them their space to share their experiences, reading experiences, the results are much more positive. Exactly. If the teacher encourages them and also give them their space to share their experiences, reading experiences, the results are much more positive.
Even though not all students enjoy reading the same way, research shows us that those who read the most make progress fastest.
Okay. The teachers may ask students to identify a few types of text, like the meaning or the grammar used, and this helps to apply reading skills to other tasks and build a deeper understanding.
This kind of reading is usually done in the classroom, and it focuses on analyzing text in detail.
The idea is to look closely on how texts are constructed. Students may read extracts from poems, newspaper, magazines, and novels.
So extensive reading is for pleasure and fluency. Then intensive reading is for analyze and also precision to grow and read language learning.
In those cases, the text is connected with the student's specialty, but if the group is very diverse, then a variety of text is better.
Something important is that intensive reading usually comes with study activities.
Later, that information can be applied to other learning activities, making the whole process more complete.
Even though not all students enjoy reading the same way, research shows us that those who read the most make progress fastest.
And intensive reading means reading in detail with an academic purpose, usually inside the classroom.
Both are necessary and complement each other. So next time you read, ask yourself, am I reading for pleasure or am I reading in study in depth?
What happened?
I don't understand anything in this book. I think the words are so difficult to me, and I really like reading, you know.
Well, I think that really you are reading a book that is not adjust your English level. Maybe you have to adjust your reading level with the book that you like. Maybe you will improve reading.
Exactly. Reading should make us learn and have fun, not feel frustrated.
Exactly.
Let's discover together how reading levels can really help us.
Good morning, everyone. Today we are discussing about reading levels and how to match text to a student's capability. So let's start with our video. Hello everyone. Today we are going to talk about reading levels in language learning. Sometimes students feel frustrated when they are reading something too difficult. But if we choose texts that are right level for us, reading becomes enjoyable, motivating, and much more effective. Let's explore together how reading levels works, why they are important, and how they can help us become better readers. Authentic text challenge. When selecting reading materials, we face a fundamental dilemma. Ideally, students will read authentic texts, newspapers, novels, websites from day one. However, lower level students, this material can present several problems. A beginner faced with a newspaper editorial may find it completely impenetrable due to unknown vocabulary and complex structures. Finding balance. The key is balancing authenticity with accessibility. Beginners can handle some authentic materials: restaurant menus, bus timetables, street signs, and simple social media posts. This uses functional language that's naturally accessible. The role of adaptive materials. For longer texts, we often use specially written or adapted materials. The crucial point is this should be as much like English as possible, while controlling vocabulary and complexity. Context matters. Text difficult also depends on reading context. In intensive reading with teacher support, a student can handle more challenging materials. For extensive reading, independent pleasure reading, we must be more careful. If the students constantly struggle, they develop negative association with reading. Our next speaker will explore graded readers as a solution to this challenge. Let's continue with Esmail.
Thank you, Ari. Let's examine graded readers, one of our most effective tools for level appropriate reading. What are graded readers? Graded readers are books specifically writing for language learners at different levels. They're carefully constructed bridges helping students progress through more complex text, following strict guidelines for vocabulary, grammar, and complexity. The learning principles. They're based on comprehensible input, language slightly above students' current level. Too easy means no growth to difficult tools are overwhelmed. Graded readers is the sweet spot for understanding while introducing new language. Level structure. Most systems follow this progression. Starter, 200 at 3 words, present tense, simple sentences. Elementary, 600 words, past tense, introduced. Intermediate, 1000 words. And intermediate, 1,700 words basic voice conditionals. Advanced 3,000 plus words approaching authentic complexity. Content and engagement. Modern grade readers offer incredible variety, contemporary fiction, biographies, adventure, romance, mystery, and adaptations of popular movies. This variety is crucial because engagement drives motivation and motivation drives learning. The pleasure factor. Most importantly, greater readers let students experience reading pleasure. When they can follow stories and connect with characters, they develop positive associations with English reading, often transforming readers into enthusiastic ones. Our final speakers will address the practical question: how do we determine appropriate levels?
Okay, thank you, Nesmady. Now let's move on to the practical aspects, determining reading levels and classroom implementation. Assessment methods, okay? And first, let's look at formal assessments. These include placement tests from publishers and reading records where students read aloud. Here's the key rule to remember. 95% accuracy means independent level, while 92 and 94% indicates instructional level. However, simple tools can be just as effective. For instance, the 5-finger rule works wonderfully. If students find more than 5 unknown words per page, then the test is too difficult for them. Additionally, student self-assessment is incredibly valuable. We should teach students to recognize when tests are too easy, just right, or too high or too hard for their current levels. Then we have classroom implementation. Now let's discuss how to put this into practice in the classroom. First, create a level library with clear color coding that students can easily understand. Second, use the 80% rule. For extensive reading, students should understand 80% of the content without needing dictionaries. Next, hold regular reading conferences. These are brief, like 5 to 10 minute individual meetings where you can discuss reading progress and assess comprehension. Furthermore, allow students choice within appropriate level ranges to increase engagement and motivation. It's also important to implement flexible grouping. Don't lock students into read levels, as they might read at different levels for different purposes. And finally, remember to reassess regularly every 6 to 8 weeks is perfect to assess the improvement of students. Okay? In short, success comes from balancing challenge with accessibility. When we match students with appropriate tests, we create the ideal conditions for building reading confidence and ensuring continuous progress. Now I understand everything. Reading in English is so fun.
Yes, reading level is really important. See you in the next time. Bye!
Today we are going to talk about reading skills. As students and even as adults, we need to use different strategies when we read. Reading is not always about understanding every single word. Sometimes it's more about knowing what to look and for how to find it quickly.
And that's right. And for example, one important skill is scanning. But what does it mean? What is the meaning of scanning? Well, it means looking through a text in order to find a piece of information. For example, just picture the following situation. You are looking for a phone number or even a name in an article. Does it mean you are going to read the whole test in order to find that word or those numbers? No, right? It means you are going to jump directly to the part you are interested in. And that is called scanning.
Exactly. On the other hand, we have skimming. Skimming is when we read very quickly to get a general idea of the text. Picture this: if you want to see a movie, but you don't want to spend all your time seeing the complete movie, you can look for a review, right? So we do the same with reading. When we perform skimming, we are reading to get the purpose of the text, the general idea, and in this order to get a quickly reading.
It's important to know when to use each skill. If you only need one small piece of information, scanning is enough. But if you want to understand the topic in general, skimming is better. Both are different from reading for detailed comprehension, which is when carefully read to understand everything, including examples or a specific language.
In fact, many students already use these skills without knowing or without knowing about it, either native languages. But in the case of English, this is a little bit more challenging. That's why teachers should give them their specific readings and activities in order that they practice more and more, in order to achieve these skills like scanning, skimming, and detailed readings in this language, which is English.
So, to sum up, reading is not only about understanding every word, it's about applying the right strategy for a better comprehension. Scan for the details, skim for the main idea, and read carefully if you want a better comprehension. If we apply all these three strategies, our reading skill will improve a lot. Thanks for watching this video. So I hope to see you in another time.
Hello everyone, today we are going to talk about some important principles of reading. These principles can help us improve the way that we teach and learn reading in the classroom. Me and my partner have divided explanation into 3 parts, and each of us will present 2 principles with practical examples. First principle, a student should read as much as possible. More they read, better their comprehension, their vocabulary, and fluency will become. The teachers should encourage both intensive reading and extensive reading. For example, the teacher can create a small classroom library and ask the students to keep a reading diary where they share their favorite stories with classmates. Second principle, students need to be engaged with what they read. When students enjoy the topic, reading becomes in a meaningful and fun experience. For example, instead of giving a boring article, the teacher can select a test about sport, about music, or a mystery story that makes students curious.
Principle number 3. Encourage the student to respond to the context of the text. Reading is not only about vocabulary or grammar, but also about ideas and feelings. Example, after reading a story about friendship, the teacher can ask, do you agree with the character's decision? What would you have done? Principle number 4. Repetition is a major factor in reading. Before we read, we often have ideas on the text thanks to the title, picture, and highlight. For example, the teacher shows the cover of a book and asks, "What do you think this story is about?" This way students activate their expectation before reading.
Principle 5. Match the text to the topic. A good text can become boring if the activities are not appropriate. Tasks must be interesting and at the right level for the class. For example, for beginner, after reading a recipe, the task can be to put the steps in order. But for advanced students, they can debate if the recipe is healthy or not. Principle 6. Good teacher exploits reading tests to the full. It's not enough to just read and move on. Tests can be used for discussion, vocabulary practice, role play, or writing activities. For example, after reading an article about pollution, a student can discuss solutions, write a letter to the mayor, or role play a debate between citizens and politicians. In conclusion, the principle of reading shows us that the reading is not only about understanding words, but also about enjoying and participating and connecting text to our daily lives. We hope these ideas and examples are useful to apply in class. So thank you so much for listening.
Hello everyone. Teaching reading is about so much more than just tests and questions. It's about integrating skill and making engaging. Today, we'll break down 3 powerful reading sequences from the pre-intermediate to advanced levels. Let's define.
This example is about a magazine article for teenagers. The sequence starts with a picture to generate discussion. Students then scan the text to identify where it's from, noticing colloquial language like gorgeous guys and babes. Next, they scan for specific information, ordering skin type by some vulnerability. And finally, they study key vocabulary like SPF and freckles. The goal of this reading activity is activation. A student can then write their own profile, do a role-play interview, or give a talk on sun safety. It is a complete lesson for reading to production.
This is show how a simple test can lead to speaking and writing. Now, let's look at how we can tackle more complex topic. Over to you, Mari.
And now, let's jump to a complex text. For intermediate students, we use a realistic news article about a campaign to save youth centers. After reading, students do a vocabulary exercise and then a role-play debate, where students are given a roles cards with a language support, transforming the basic reading comprehension into a real speaking task. And this is highly recommended and motivating for advanced learners. We use a webcast. This is an structured online research where students are given a quest to debate UFOs existences or alien existences. They are divided into roles: believers, scientists, and aliens abductees, and research using pre-selected links for real websites, and then debate their findings. And it's a fantastic activity for critical reading and argumentation. These examples show how reading bridges into meaningful communication. And now, for even more quick activities, Lilia, tell us about them.
Here are 2 reading concepts. 1. Distance reading. A student reading different parts of a story or different texts on the same topic. Then they come together and request the whole study collaboratively. And second is reading puzzle. Give students a test with paragraph jumbled together or two stories combined into one. You can also use a set framework for students to predict the story before reading it. In conclusion, successful reading classes are integrated and progressive. They start with contextualization, move through readings, and linguistic analysis, and culminate in activation. The goal is to motivate them, to give them an authentic reason to read. Thank you.
Hello, people. Welcome to our exploration of interactive reading activities. Today, I'm going to share with you some powerful collaborative techniques that transform reading from a solitary activity into an engaging group experience. These methods not only improve comprehension but also develop critical thinking and communication skills. So let's start with user reading. One of the most effective collaborative reading techniques. In user reading, students work like puzzle pieces coming together to form a complete picture. Here's how it works. First, students read a short text that presents a problem or situation. Then they split into three groups, with each group reading a different text about the same topic, perhaps different aspect of human behavior, like anger, behavior reports, and current issue, or different part of a mysterious story. The magic happens when the students regroup, ensuring each new group has one member who reads each of the three texts. Together, they piece together the complete story or situation, sharing what they discover in the individual reading. So here we have some benefits of user reading. Promotes activity engagement, develop listening skills, builds confidence, encourages accountability, and mirror real-world collaboration, right? So reading puzzles beyond user reading, we have various reading puzzles that challenge students for analytical thinking. For example, paragraph reconstruction, email sequencing, story separation, and so on. So why reading puzzle works? These activities are really incredible effective because they require students to pay attention to context, clues, logical flow, and narrative structures. Students become detectives using language, pattern, and content connection to solve puzzles. To conclude, collaborative reading techniques like user reading and reading puzzles transform passive reading into active problem solving. They create natural opportunity for discussion and help students develop both reading comprehension and collaborative skills that will serve them throughout their life. So that's the thing.
Hello, in this session, we'll explore how to make reading relevant and practical by using real-world materials. When students see the immediate application of their reading skill, motivation skyrockets and learning becomes more meaningful. Using newspaper. Newspaper offer minimal possibilities for enjoying reading activities. The beauty of newspaper-based activities is their connection to cultural events and real-world issues. Here are some powerful newspaper activities. Okay, match exercise. Students match articles with headlines or relevant picture, developing skimming and prediction skills. Comparative analyze. Advanced students can read three different accounts of the same event and identify different perspectives or design. Response writing. Students write letters to the editor in response or article they read. Classifying activities. Students represent as holiday advertisement or item for sale. The matrix and role play scenarios based on their decision. Benefits of newspaper activities. current relevance, variety of test types, critical thinking development, cultural awareness, and practical vocabulary. Okay. Uh, Receive activities. Receive are particularly engineering institution tests because they have clear sequential steps. They include special vocabulary. A student can actually choose the food, making the reading immediately practical. They connect to student cultural backgrounds and personal experience. Real world application benefits. Immediate practice value, increased motivation, confidence building, life skill development. Okay. In conclusion, by using newspaper instruction and other absentee materials, we prepare students not just to pass tests, but to navigate the English-speaking world of food. This activity shows students that reading is a practical tool for success in academic, professional, and personal contexts.
In this final part of our journey to interaction reading activities, here we'll explore creativity approaches that develop diverse analytical skills and make reading a truly engaging experience. This activity moves beyond basic conversation to foster creativity, inference, and critical analysis. Poetry activity. Poetry may seem challenging for language learners, but when approached creatively, it becomes highly engaging. Here are some effective techniques. Line reconstruction. A student aims to recite one line from a poem without showing it to others. They can read their line aloud, but must work together to reconstruct the interpoet in correct order. This works wonderfully with poems like Robert Ford's Fires and Ice and progressive relevation. Display a poem line by line with words that out. Students first make wide guesses, then see the first letter, then the first two letters gradually revealing the complete poem. This technique forces students to think contextually about vocabulary and meanings. Benefits of poetry activity. Deep vocabulary exploring, pattern recognition, cultural insight, creative thinking, and memorization skill. Play start and before reading. Reading dramatic tests allow develop multiple skills simultaneously. A student read plays or feel, start analyze their construction, then perform them, focus on stress, intonation partner, and emotional expression tool. Voice, character interpretation, pace, and rhyme. This approach works with any test genre because successful reading allow require the comprehension and interpretation. Prediction activities. Prediction exercise engage student analytical thinking. Word prediction give student keywords from a test and have them prediction the story. Picture prediction. Use image to generate expectation of content. Phrase prediction. Prominent phrases like knock a door, got away, and he's dead. To help student conclusion, positive and negative. For high level students, we can implement sophisticated activities, alternative response instead of traditional comprehension question. A student can convert textual information into graph, table, or diagram. Describe character physical appearance when knowing its drawing. Predict a story, ending, or intermediate development. Infer the writing, attitude, and perspective. In conclusion, creative and analytical reading activities transform students for basic recipes of information into activity interprets and creative of meaning. By incorporating poetry, drama, pressure activities, and analytic tasks, we will develop not just reading skills, but critical thinking abilities that will serve students throughout their academic and professional life.
Have you ever noticed that sometimes the students only read a book because the teacher said so, and they do it without any real interest? Exactly, and when reading feels like an obligation, we lose the most important part, enjoyment. That's why today we want to share with you 4 practical tips
to help the students get hooked on reading and see it as something fun, not just another assignment.
The first step is to make sure students have access to books. If books are locked away in a library they rarely visit, it's hard for them to get excited.
Right. We can have a fixed space in the school, but also a classroom mini library or even a traveling box of books that goes from class to class.
Embroidery is key. Novels, comics, movie adaptations, fact quotes, so that every student can find something they enjoy.
The second tip is to let a student choose what to read.
Because when they choose, they not only pick the genre but also the level, and if they read something that interests them and feels comfortable, they're much more motivated.
It's not the same to say, you must read this 100-page book as it is fast. Would you rather read this mystery story, this adventure book, or this fun fact collection?
That's simple, as a choosing makes them feel involved because the reading becomes theirs.
The third tip is feedback, but careful. We don't mean boring book reports or tests.
Instead, let's create short and fun ways for them to share what they're reading. A quick day with emotion to show how they felt. A sticky note in the book with a short comment, or even a recommendation where students leave their mini review.
I love that idea. That way, other students can read those comments and decide what they want to read next.
Exactly. Feedback becomes a chain of motivation.
And the last tip is to give them real time to read.
We can expect students to become readers if they never have such space for it in their daily routine.
Something as simple as dedicating 10 minutes of class just for reading can make a huge difference.
And the most important thing, as teachers, we would read at the moment to when they see that we also enjoy the activity because it's much more attractive.
So to sum up, a textbook, freedom of choice, spaces for feedback, and dedicated time.
With these 4 steps, reading stops being an obligation and becomes an enjoyable experience.
Because in the end, reading shouldn't feel like a heavy task,
but rather an adventure that everyone can enjoy.
Try it out with your students.